I'm going to show you how to skin a snake. This is a small copperhead my brother brought me from Texas, and it was froze. I told him just to freeze them whole, and that's okay to do that. Freeze them whole, and you can thaw them out. Put them in the bottom of your fridge. I got mine out in the garage, so there's no edibles in there really to speak of. We just keep soda in there. But anyway, put them in the bottom of the refrigerator for a day or so, let them thaw out naturally, and I wouldn't thaw them out in water like you would fish. Just let these thaw out naturally, and it's nice and limber like it would be if you just killed it, and doesn't smell or anything like that. Anyway, first thing I do is kind of stretch it out straight, and then I'll roll it over, because you see how it tapers here at the end of the tail. You can't use that anyway for skinning the limb on a bow. And then I roll it over, find this vent back here. That's actually the anus, or I don't know what the technical term is, but anyway, that's the snake's rear end. And I go just behind that and cut that part off. It gets too skinny right there to be able to use any of that to put on a bow anyway. Cut that off. These have already had the heads removed. One was still semi-attached. I don't know if that is where they hit them when they killed them, I'm guessing. And then maybe that part came off. I don't know, but if the head's still on it, go ahead and remove the head just behind the head. And I use a pair of scissors. You can also use a knife and cut up through the belly. Just be careful to stay in the middle, because if you get off to one side or the other, you're getting into your back skin here. Your back skin is what you want to show on a bow when it's laid out flat and glued down to the limb. And I'll try to do this so my hands aren't in the way of the video frame. But roll it over on its back so you can see the belly. And this one has a split in the belly, I suppose, where it was pommeled with a shovel or a garden hoe or something. And anyway, I just start cutting right up the center of the snake's belly, and again try to stay right in the middle, so you got all that good back skin. It's going to look nice on your bow if you choose to put this on a long bow or a recurve. They look really cool. And I live in Missouri, and we aren't allowed to kill snakes legally. We're not supposed to kill snakes in Missouri. The only way you can kill one is if it's threatening you or your pets or something like that, and then you can do whatever you think is necessary to remove it. I normally carry mine out of the yard, and I'll put them away from the house so they're not causing any problems up here. I don't like to kill snakes because there's so many benefits. They eat mice and spiders and other kinds of nuisance pests and things that I like even less than a snake. But snakes don't bother me. I don't like mice and I don't like spiders, so snakes are a good thing for me around here. And I don't mind them a bit, and I don't mind picking one up and carrying it out of my yard to put off someplace else and let it do what it's supposed to do. But I will pick up roadkill snakes and skin those, and I do buy rattlesnakes from out of state. Colorado has quite a few, Arizona, Texas, places like that. Texas is actually full of poisonous snakes. You know, they say that everything in Texas will bite you, sting you, or poke you, scratch you, bite you. But anyway, there's lots of poisonous snakes in Texas, and they have really nice rattlesnakes. water moccasins and copperheads, and I'm sure a few other venomous varieties. And got a bow that I put a pair of water moccasin skins on. I don't know if that'll show up in the video or not, but I put these water moccasin skins on here, and these came from Texas. I actually traded for those, and I believe I traded some bamboo arrow shafts for those. Anyway, I put these on this recurve and it turned out really nice, and so that's the intent with these snake skins, and they look really cool. Alright, enough about that. Back to the snake skin. This one I've already got done and have it pegged to a board, and I'll show you there's no need to do anything to it except air dry it. And this is really simple. All I did was split the snake up the belly, and then I go up here to the head and start the skin away from the body of the snake, and it comes off really easy. Be careful with it. You don't want to tear a hole in your snake skin. And I just get that started down through there and then gently peel it off. It's really easy, and if you do it right, all the gunk will stay inside the snake. And I'll hold it over a bucket in case any of the innards come out of there, and just kind of peel the snake and the skin apart from each other and put the waste into this plastic bucket. There's nothing left but skin. And that last little bit, kind of tough. Just grab it down there close and pop it loose. There it is. The skin is off. Now the next part's a little tricky. You're going to have to pin it and then scrape the gooey off of the skin as you go. And I found it's better to scrape that jelly-like substance off of the skin before it's dried, because then when you rehydrate the snake skin later on, you're going to have to scrape that off anyway, because you don't want that sticking to the back of your bow. It'll leave lumps and bumps underneath the skin, and it won't look very good. And so anyway, right here where the head was beat off, I got smashed off with a shovel or something. It's kind of jagged, so what I'll do is I'll take my my sharp fillet knife, and I'm going to cut that off straight, because I can't use this jagged torn part anyway. And I'll just kind of draw a straight line across there and slice that off straight. Get rid of that. I'll take a couple pins. Right here, and actually it's kind of a chore to get this started, but try and scrape some of this off right here where you're going to put a pin. You probably won't be able to see what's coming off here because it's really thin, kind of a translucent jelly type of stuff that's right underneath the skin. And I guess if a snake had fat on it, that would be considered snake fat. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's really thin. There's not much of anything there, but I scrape that one side, and I can get a pin in there, put as close to the edge as you can, and still be able to have room to stretch it a little bit. You don't want to stretch it tight. All you're looking for here is to get it flat. Scrape this side. Get a pin in this corner. And this is just a piece of balsa wood. You can use any scrap wood that you can stick a push pin in. Anything will work. Scrap 2x4, piece of plywood, anything. And now, with my corners held down, I can scrape this scrape this on down and pin it as I go. Try to hold your skin out flat. Scrape it. Try not to get a fold underneath your knife as you're scraping, because that can tear a hole in the skin. And then here's some of the gunk that I'm scraping off, and I just wipe it there on a rag. And I'll do a little bit on this side, then I'll go over here and I'll scrape this side, put a few pins in it, keep working my way down. And there's really not much here to scrape. Usually in the center part of the snake skin, there's not really much of that at all. It's mostly out towards the edges where the rib cage bones were. And I'm no biologist by any means, so pardon my terminology if I'm incorrect on any of this. But just get that gooey stuff off of there. I'm actually gonna slide this back a little bit so I don't run out of room at the end of my board. Just moving down another 3 or 4 inches. And these little push pins, you can buy these at your local Dollar General. They're really cheap. You get a box of them for $1. Well, imagine that at a dollar store. And just stretch it out where it's flat. No need to overstretch. It's not going to help you. You're only going to get as much as you're going to get in width out of the snake, and by stretching it any wider or any longer, you're not going to gain anything, because once it rehydrates, you're going to put it in a bowl of warm water to rehydrate it in order to glue it to the limbs on a bow. And when you rehydrate it, it's going to go back to its original shape anyway. So you're only looking to get it out flat and get it dried. So don't think that you're going to gain anything by overstretching it. You can't take a skinny snake and turn it into a big snake. It just won't happen. Gently scrape this down as you go. Try and keep it opened up flat so you don't get any folds underneath your knife. You get a fold underneath there and you rake over it and scrape over it with this knife, it's going to tear a hole there. You want as flat as possible. If you have a little piece of the edge skin start to peel off on you, just go ahead and trim that off. Don't let it go until it tears into the back of the skin here. Ruin a nice snake skin that way. Especially if it's in the center of the skin, because it'd be really hard to try and piece that back together on a bow limb. And you don't have to get really crazy with this. Just get as much as you can. Try and clean it up best you can. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you get the majority off of there. It'll be a whole lot easier to work with when you're ready to skin a bow with it. Just pull those edges out and pin it as you go. No need to overstretch, just kind of eyeball it. If you see a spot that you missed, go ahead and stop and do a little more scraping. I don't know why most people are squeamish about this. It's more gruesome cutting up a chicken to fry for supper in your kitchen. I don't know why a snake would be any different. It's just an animal. Just another creature. And trust me when I say that, you know, there are imitation stickers or decals, whatever you want to call them, that are printed with a snakeskin pattern that are made to look like snakeskins. And I've seen those on some bows, and I can tell you right now that they look really tacky. They look cheap, they look fake, they look tacky. If you want snakeskins on a bow, this is the only way to do it. Get yourself the real deal. If you can't get your own skins like me, then try and get them from out of state. Go to some traditional archery websites and ask around, look into classifieds, and see if you can find somebody that sells them, and maybe you can buy yourself a nice pair of skins or trade for them. There are some traditional archery supply outlets that carry snake skins, commercial skins. They're a bit expensive. You're looking at anywhere from $60 to $80 probably for a pair of rattlesnake skins, a pair of diamondbacks. I got lucky and was able to trade for the ones that I have, and so I've never had to buy a pair of skins outright. I'd much rather trade for something than pay for it any day. Same way with selling something. I'd rather trade and barter with goods than sell something for cash outright any day, unless I'm just hard up for the money. But if I don't need the money, I'd much rather do some swapping. I love swapping. Just about got it stretched out here. And no need to put this in the direct sunlight or too close to a heat source. Just someplace dry will be fine. If it's not particularly warm, it'll just take a little longer for it to dry, which isn't a big deal. Just leave it alone for a few days and it'll dry on its own. If it's hot, like during the summertime, this skin would be nearly dry by the afternoon if you did this mid-morning. If the temperature was up to 90 or 95 degrees during the summertime, the skin will dry in just a matter of hours. And that's just air dry. No direct sunlight. The sunlight will fade your colors in your pattern, your snake pattern, and it'll actually kind of bleach it out, and I think it even somewhat burns the skin, kind of like a sunburn. I dried a brown snake that way in the direct sunlight, and I actually thought I ruined it. It turned out okay, but I found out that you don't need them in direct sunlight, and you don't need to stand here with a heat gun or a hair dryer and try to hurry up and dry them. Just leave them alone for a couple of days and they'll dry just fine on their own. Well, I don't run out of push pins here. I'm getting down to the last few that I've got. And that's okay if you do, because you can use a stapler. Just make sure you stay along the edges there. And I'll just take a couple of staples and tack the ends of that down, and that'll be done. But that's what it looks like. If I didn't have two skins here to do, I wouldn't have ran out of push pins, but I may be able to salvage a couple of those off there. I used quite a few there towards the beginning. But one's a little smaller than the other. This is a pretty nice skin here. That one is still wide enough to cover a bow limb. That's it. That's how you do it. Take that board and lean it up against the wall on your bench or something, and just leave it alone for a couple of days, and when it dries out, that'll feel like dry paper. The skin will feel like paper. It won't have any wetness or tackiness to it, and then you'll know it's done. So there you are. That's how you skin a snake and put it up to dry.